Imagine a billionaire CEO catching his cleaner stealing from him. But instead of calling the police, he marries her. What began as punishment turned into a love story no one saw coming. The CEO who married his cleaner. Mr. Adrian Cole was the kind of CEO people whispered about in hallways. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a gaze sharp enough to cut through excuses. He built his empire with iron discipline. Employees feared his temper as much as they admired his brilliance. Among the unseen faces that polished his skyscraper office was Grace, a cleaner in her late 20s. She was quiet, head always lowered, moving like a shadow with her mop and bucket. Nobody knew that every night after her shift, she walked miles to a cramped room where her ailing mother lay coughing on a thin mattress. One late evening, Adrian returned for forgotten files. To his shock, he caught Grace slipping his designer wristwatch into her pocket. Their eyes locked, hers trembling with guilt, his burning with fury. Security expected him to call the police. But instead, Adrian's lips curved into something colder. "You want what's mine?" he said. "Fine. Tomorrow, you'll have me as your husband." The entire company froze when he declared it the next morning. Grace was stunned, humiliated, yet too powerless to refuse. The wedding was swift, announced in glossy magazines with headlines screaming, "CEO marries thieving cleaner." To the world, it was scandal. To Adrian, it was justice. He vowed to make her carry her shame daily. The mansion she entered felt like a golden prison. Adrian gave her a room, but never warmth. At dinner, he reminded her of the theft, his words knives across the table. Servants whispered about the maid-turned-madame, mocking her clumsy attempts at sophistication. But Grace swallowed the insults. At dawn, she still scrubbed floors, cooked meals, and tended to Adrian's elderly father, who had grown fond of her gentle spirit. She sent part of her meager allowance to pay for her mother's medicine, never once asking her husband for more. Adrian watched with a detached sneer. But secretly, something gnawed at him. For all her shame, Grace never cursed, never defended herself. She carried herself with a quiet dignity that unsettled him more than open defiance. Weeks bled into months. Adrian began noticing details he once ignored. Grace humming softly as she arranged flowers in the hallway. Grace skipping her own meals so his father could eat more. Grace refusing expensive gifts from board members. Returning envelopes over thank you money with trembling hands but firm resolve. One night, he overheard her praying in the guest room. "Lord, forgive me for stealing. I was desperate, but I should have trusted you. Help me to be strong in this marriage, even if it is punishment." Adrian froze outside the door. The words pierced him deeper than he expected. For the first time he wondered, had he gone too far? At the office, a scandal erupted. A rival tried to bribe Grace to leak confidential files. She brought the envelope straight to Adrian, tears of fear in her eyes, begging him to believe she wanted nothing to do with it. And for the first time, Adrian did. The cold walls Adrian had built began to crack. He started watching her, not with contempt, but with curiosity, and then with admiration. One stormy evening, Grace fainted while caring for his father. Adrian rushed her to the hospital, where doctors revealed she had been skipping meals to afford her mother's medication. Guilt hit him like a blow. When she awoke, he was at her bedside. No arrogance, no anger, only remorse. "I thought I was teaching you a lesson," he whispered, voice hoarse. "But the truth is, you've been teaching me." about sacrifice, about honor, about love. Grace's eyes widened, confusion swimming with disbelief. Love? After all the humiliation? Adrian clasped her hand. Yes, because somewhere between punishing you and watching you rise above it, I fell in love with the woman I tried to break. For the first time, Grace saw not a ruthless CEO, but a man stripped of pride, begging for forgiveness. Their home transformed after that night. The mansion no longer echoed with cold silence, but with laughter and hesitant smiles. Adrian defended Grace before society, calling her the woman who saved me from myself. The tabloids shifted their tone, from scandal to fairy tale. Employees who once mocked her now treated her with respect. And Grace, though still humble, carried herself like a queen, not because of her husband's wealth, but because of his love. Adrian never forgot the day he caught her stealing, but instead of bitterness, he held onto it as the turning point of his life. "The thief I married," he would often say, pulling her into his arms, "was the greatest gift God ever sent me." Grace smiled through tears, finally free from shame. The lesson he meant for her had become his own. Sometimes love is born not from perfection, but from brokenness healed together. Will you accept the marriage if you were Grace? Don't forget to subscribe for more videos.